Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tina Shah, and I'll be your host for today's session. I'm a member of PRASHA's PR team. I'm a public relations officer in PRASHA. Talking about PRASHA, so PRASHA, it is a student-led organization that has fostered various opportunities for the students in more than 10 different countries. And we have conducted various humanitarian projects like blood donation camps and awareness campaigns. We also have our study groups for students to interact and learn. And also recently, we have conducted our first research club session. Talking about some of our recent collaborations, we had one was with IMJ Unity, one was with Supernova Tech, and so on. Also, we are starting our new chapters in countries like Egypt, Qatar, India, China, and so on. And to know more about PRASHA, you can visit our website or our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook as well. Moving on to our today's session, it is about navigating the residency webinar series. Our first session was on PLAB, and you can find the recording for the same on our YouTube channel. And for today's session, we have Dr. Sakshi Shrivastava with us, who is going to tell us more about the USMLE and navigating the residency pathway for the same. I hope that this session would be inciting for you, and feel free to ask any question at the end of the seminar. Over to you, Dr. Sakshi.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, and greetings to wherever everyone is. I'm Dr. Sakshi Shrivastava, and I'm going to be, telling you things about USMLE. Many of you know what it is, how to go about it, but I'm just going to help you get a clearer picture of what the entire process is. So I'm going to start a small little presentation. So the presentation that I'll be sharing will basically be a guideline for how I'm supposed to share information with you. And I'm going to be sharing it from my iPad. So if I'm looking this side, I'm just looking at my iPad. I'll be sharing my screen now. So basically, as we know, also throughout the talk, it should not be more than 15 or 20 minutes. You can keep typing your questions into the chat so that we can come back to it later on. So let's start with what USMLE is. As we all know, it's United States Medical Licensing Exam. It is an exam that everyone who ever wants to practice in America gives. It's something that gives you the MD title. So this is the agenda that I'm going to be following today. First, an introduction of who I am, what is USMLE, what the steps are, what OET is, what is ECFMD certification, timeline and eligibility, USCE and research, the match, why USMLE, and then our question answer round. So who am I? I'm Dr. Sakshi Shrivastava. I am a first year medical resident in pediatrics. Weirdly so, I am in India. I'm doing my PG here. Why I'm here is because I am engaged to someone who is here and I chose to live with him here instead of going abroad right now. But I do plan on going. I have applied for the match. I also did get through, but then I chose to stay back. I am ECFMD certified, and yes, I have also cleared the step 3 in 2022 when the step 1 became pass or fail. So now let's go out with what is USMLE. Like we all know, United States Medical Licensing Exam. Who gives it? So every person, the people in America, outside of America, every doctor, in order to be called a doctor in America, in order to practice in America, gives USMLE. The pathways are different for people who are practicing or who have done their medical education in America versus those who have done outside the country. But each and every one gives it. As in the name, it says licensing exam. So until you don't have a license, you can't practice. So it's every single person on planet Earth who wants to practice in America needs to give USMLE. There is no exam which can act as a proxy for USMLE. It's one whole soul exam which you need to give in order to practice. Okay, so why is it needed? Exactly, it's to practice. It's for your own, to have your own practice as a general practitioner in America. Also, it's for entering residency. You cannot apply for a residency in America unless and until you have passed USMLE. Now, when is it given? It's given through your medical degree. Each and every person decides when to give it, and can decide their own timeline, which I'll be discussing later on. But and the eligibility criteria. But do know that you can give it after entering your medical college. You can give it anytime in your medical college, when you've passed your medical degree, anytime and every time. Everything has its pros and cons, which I'll be discussing as well later. So talking about the steps. So now what does USMLE consist of? USMLE consists of three steps. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. Step 2 is also known as step 2 CK. Earlier it was step 2 CK and CS. CS was clinical skills, but because of the COVID pandemic that we had, CS was scrapped and OET was introduced, for which I will be telling you about later. So what do these tests test? So you would have heard steps are extremely extensive, they are long, they're exhausting, but what do they actually test? They test everything under the planet, on planet Earth, which is MBBS, or sorry, medical related, from anatomy to physiology to pathology to biochemistry. Every single thing is tested in these three steps, where you'll be asking, how does one test an interaction with patients? They have their I'm so sorry, pardon, just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So, what do they test? They will, so step 1, step 2, and step 3 test for different things at different times. Okay. They do test the entire medical knowledge, but they test different aspects of it. Now, what do you mean by different aspects? So step 1 will be testing from basic knowledge till reaching a diagnosis. It's not going to cross diagnosis. Step 2 will be testing diagnosis to treatment. Like, what is the next step? What is the next step of management? And step 3 is going to test your patient interaction and your statistics. It's something that is much more wider, but for the sake of time and to just introduce you to USMLE, I do not want to go deeper than that. Definitely, if you do have questions, we can go through it in the question and answer on. So now, what is the test format? Everyone says it's exhausting. Yes, it is. It is an 8 to 9 hour test, which happens throughout the entire day. So step 1 is an 8 hour test, which consists of 7 hours of examination and 1 hour of break time, which you can divide however you want. Step 2 is a 9 hour examination with 8 blocks and 1 hour again. Step 3 is a 2 day process, which is day 1 and day 2. Both of them are 9 hours long. So the first day is 9, the second day is 8 hours, again in the same distribution. Where can they be given? So step 1 and step 2 can be given in any place that has a prometric test center. It can be given outside America, but step 3 needs to be given within the country. Step 3 is given under the federal medical board, and you will be taking it under proper federal securities. When can they be given? Now, like I said, the eligibility and timeline. Step 1 can be given after you have joined your medical course, and when you are confident with giving it. It's not like you need to pass first year, you need to pass second year, you need to pass third year, you need to be in your intern year. It's not like that. Whenever you're ready to give step 1, you can. And whenever your college allows you to do so as well. The college plays a very major role when it comes to step 1 or your first exam, actually. So one thing that one must know is step 1, step 2 can be given in any order. Since step 1 has become pass or fail, there are many people who are going for step 2 first, because they get their score and then decide if they want to give step 1. So you can give it in any order, but that's how. So step they can be given after you join your medical degree. Then resources. Now, this is a huge umbrella. Everyone uses different resources. You can use anything and everything for the steps, but the main sources that everyone who has given steps use are the UWorld, which is the gold standard of question banks for USMLE steps, and first aid. It's a book which has everything written in bullet points, and it's a complete book of high yield material, which you will have to memorize from the first page to the last page in order to give the step. So, your resources, these are your two main resources. Apart from that, online, you may also find Boards and Beyond, and Sketchy, and Anki, and just your books. If you concentrate in your own class, it is more than enough as well, but it depends on how you want to go about it. So resources is a very, very big chapter for USMLE. We can definitely, if there is a future seminar, we could definitely discuss that as well. And now expenses. So USMLE is not the cheapest of exams, but it is very, very rewarding. So your total fees, the structure of expenses that you will have to follow through. Step one currently is $975 for everyone outside of US who is giving it. Step two also is 975, while step three is 895, and OET comes at around $500 to $600. So only for exams, we are going to talk total. To apply for the match, step three is unnecessary. It's not needed. I will talk to you about it later. But step one, step two, and the OET together come around $2,400. And that is excluding your resources. Your resources are a different thing itself. Your resources like UWorld can cost you around $900 to $1,200. So in total, what I would say for your just giving your steps and getting eligible for ECFMG certification, you will need approximately $4,000 in total to do everything. Going ahead with the OET. Now, OET is the Occupational English Test. Like I said, during the COVID pandemic, because there was no travel happening, these USMLE had to scrape the step 2 CS out. And that was the one in which the doctors had patient interaction. So, in order to ensure that their quality is being maintained, they introduced the OET into the ECFMG certification. Now, who gives it? The USMLE OET is given only by people who have studied outside the US. The people who require the ECFMG certification. People who have studied in US do not require the ECFMG certification, and hence do not require the occupational English test. If you require an ECFMG certification, you need the occupational English test. Now, when is it given? You can give it whenever. But do remember that the OET has an expiry date. Earlier, ECFMG certifications did not have an expiry date because we were going through CS. But because it's become OET has an expiry date, your ECFMG certification also has an expiry date. Now, how important is it? It's extremely essential when it comes to getting your ECFMG certification in order to apply for the match. That is getting your residency, which I'll be talking to you about later. Now, how do you pass OET? Now, test format for OET is it will be testing your writing, your reading, your speaking, your comprehension skills. It's going to test every single thing. It's divided over one 3-hour test, which is done online, and another test, which is done over call or video call. They will be talking to you and assessing how you speak and how your grammar is, what your clarity is. So when you get scored in all four, you're supposed to score B and above. That's when you pass and you're eligible for the ECFMG certification. Expenses for this, most people do not require any sort of coaching or any sort of knowledge to give OET. OET, the website itself has a lot of the mock exams and the mock videos, and they teach online itself. Though not many people do require any resources. So if you don't require it, it is only about $550 for the exam. If you do, then it depends on what you're taking as your resource. So now going ahead with that is your ECFMG. Now, what is the ECFMG? It's the Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Grads. So the FMG is where all people outside America come in. So what is ECFMG? It is where you meet the baseline criteria that yes, the federal government can now trust you that you can enter as a doctor here and finish your residency in America. So the ECFMG asks for a step one, a step two, and an OET. There is no a strict rule on the sequence of things. It just needs to be done. OET needs to be fresh and not expired. Okay. So step one, step two, and OET, and then an ECFMG certification is given. Now, the ECFMG certification is a completely different, ball game. So when it comes to the ECFMG, there are multiple pathways that one can choose, pathway 1 to pathway 6. Those are different, which we can go in detail later. Most people go through pathway 1, which consists of step 1, step 2, and OET. And this costs about $900 to $950, in which you pay them and they go through all your documents with a needle and then give you the ECFMG certification, which is a beautiful golden stamped certificate, which gives you the license to go and apply for residency. Now, talking about timeline and eligibility. Total time taken, it depends on you, but I say a minimum of 2 years is what people usually take. People I have seen have also studied for 8 months, given their step one, given their step two, back to back, finished everything, gone out of it, done. I've seen that as well. But I've also seen people who have taken it slowly, steadily, given their first step after their second year, where their fresh knowledge is really intact, and then given step two after 2 years and during their intern year, and then gone about it. So there's no right or wrong when it comes to total time taken, but one must realize that when they are going through the match for your residency, they look at your years of graduation, years from graduation, years of graduation. So let's say I graduated in 2021 and I'm applying for the match in 2024. It is 4 years, 3 years of graduation. When you are doing your research on which program you want to apply to and where you want to go, they have a page separate for residency and they write there 2 years of graduation, less than 3 years of graduation. So these are the things that matter. They care about how long has it been since you're a student and how easy is it to teach you again, because of which they care about years of graduation. So whatever your timeline is, just make sure that the program that you're targeting or the programs that you're targeting have your criteria that is there perfectly matched. Do not, I wouldn't say it's wrong to do it 10 years down the lane. Just explain to them why you did what you did. They care about the fact that you were a student, you practiced, then maybe you did. They care about logic to why you did what you did. If you're living off of your partner's income or your father's or your mother's income, they look very down upon it. So these are things that you need to be a little careful about. These are tips and tricks that we could do again that I have picked up while going through the match. Now, what are the expenses? Like I told you, the expenses are going to be your exams, your resources, your ECFMG certification, your US clinical experience, which I will be talking about next. So, in total, when we look at the actual pricing of what USMLE and going through the match is, it comes up to approximately $15,000 to $20,000 easy. That is excluding your stay and your airline, I mean your air tickets. So this is your expenses that goes through, but to reassure you, residency is very paying. It is highly paid and you can definitely make your money back very fast. So do not look at these expenses as a dead investment. It is a very good investment. Now, eligibility, in order to apply for the match, you need to have passed your medical course. MBBS or whichever degree you are doing, and you need to have the certificate, the original document in your hand, because that is also required in ECFMG certification. There is a long checklist of things without which you do not get certified. So when it comes to this, you need to, so that in India, like because I've studied here, you have a provisional degree that is given to you that is not taken for ECFMG certification. You need the original degree. Okay, so to be eligible for the match, to be eligible for the ECFMG certification, you need to be step 1, step 2, OET, and your final degree diploma. That is very essential. Now, when should you consider starting USMLE? Like I said, everyone has their own choice in this. You can start it as soon as you enter. You can be driven, do it in your third year of medical college, finish it off by internship, go do your USC and go through. Else, you can. So, what people I have seen have done have delayed their internship and done it during their intern year so that they get all the knowledge and then go through. Now, one thing that one must know, people say that step 1 is about, the first 2 years of medical college, and step 2 is about the next 2 years. That's not true. Step 1, step 2 is everything in medical college. It's just the amount. So when you're studying general medicine, you study about everything, right? Etiology, pathology, pharmacology, like the treatment, diagnosis, how do you do diagnosis? So everything comes under step 1 and step 2. The only place is where do they stop taking it. Like I said, step 1 stops at diagnosis. Step 2 starts at diagnosis and ends at treatment. Like, what is the next best treatment? Step 3 goes into patient care and statistics. Let's go to the next one, which is USCE and research. So now we are entering into applying for the match. Till now, I was talking to you about ECFMG certification, which is a huge part of the match. Now, what is the match? I will also be telling you about it. But the match is basically getting a residency seat in America to pursue whichever specialization you need. So when it comes to USCE and research, US clinical experience can be either an internship, an externship, or a clerkship. Now, internship is basically when you have not graduated your medical college yet, when you are still in your student phase. So, internship and clerkship are kind of hand in hand. You have not graduated, they will let you touch patients, they will let you write notes, they will do all of that. Now, I'm not saying that an externship, they don't let you touch patients, but it gets tagged as that under your letter of recommendations that comes under the match. Okay, externship is when you are done doing your degree, you have graduated, you have your final degree diploma, and you go to America to work under a doctor and think and just see what the doctor is doing. So USC basically is when you apply for the match, they want to know, do you know their system? That's where USC comes into picture. Shadowing a doctor makes you understand their system better, because of which it is important for them to have you shadow at least 3 people. Now, these 3 will also be giving you letter of recommendations, which is essential for the match. You cannot apply for the match unless and until you have letter of recommendations. Okay, it's an entire checklist, which I'll be talking to you about next. So why is it required? It is required for the match, for the program directors to know that you are prepared to come into their system. What are the expectations from a USCE? So now what a USCE will teach you is, one, how to use electronic medical records, how to go through the system. Second, how to approach a patient and how long you need to spend with the patient. It helps you understand the insurance part of things. Okay. Third, it helps you. So the expectation from that from you. So you will be creating an image to the doctor of how you are and how you would be in the residency. So you are expecting an LOR from them, a letter of recommendation, which okay, I hope I'm audible right now. So, yeah. So, what are your strengths? What are things that you do really great? So, these LORs need to be personalized, not something that they generalize and copy paste for everyone. that is something that you are highly of expecting from the USC. Now, a small thing on research. Research is something which is expected of every student while doing their residency. Now, if you have a research on board during your medical college, you are at a higher rate of matching with a program than others. Why this is so is because they know that money spent on your research is not going to go down the drain. It is something that you're genuinely interested in, and it is something that you will genuinely carry forward. So people sometimes do a lot of research and have very less USC. That's not how we want to go through it. They want to know that you know the system, and that you're also evenly a little interested in research. Again, if you have any questions on it, you can definitely ask me in the question answer round. Now, talking about the match, why is it called the match? What is it? So when it comes to residency, they want you to be in a program which you appreciate and they appreciate you. So the match season is something which starts usually in mid-September. Like this year, it's going to start on September 16th. It is going to end with your results on March 20th. So September 16th is when you start creating your profile. You start putting in your image, to your ECFMG certification, to your letter of recommendation, to your entire CV. It's a huge process, but it's your application that gets printed at the program director's office in order to get to know you better. So, talking about the timeline, like I said, September 16th is when registration starts. October 1st is when the programs can start viewing your application. So, now what happens in a match is you do research on programs, you see which fits best to you, and you pick them out and put them on a list that only these people are allowed to view your application. Sending an application itself is also a cost. Like the first 10 cost $100, the next 10 costs $21 each, after that $16 each. So it's basically, if you're applying for internal medicine, a person usually applies to like 400 programs and they could spend around $2,000 even on application. But when it comes to emergency medicine, it's much lesser. That's a different side of the story itself. But you are basically choosing programs that fall under your list or your checklist, that this is where I can work. So they view your application, and that starts on October 1st. It is always said that your application should be ready on the day they start viewing, because some colleges, they do not look they do not go back to print the new applications. Some do. So because of that, it is always better to be ready on the first day itself, which for this math season will be October 1st. Now Jan 31st is when the applications close, and no college is going to view your application after that because it's not accessible. Okay. So now during this period of September 16 to Jan 31st, usually October 1st afterwards, when they start viewing your applications is when they start sending you interviews. They want to get to know you better. They want to know what you like and how you would treat someone, etc., etc. So they interview you, and after the interview, they rank you. So now what happens? A rank list opens on Feb 3rd, where you will rank your programs from who you got the interviews, and they will rank their the people that they interviewed, and that's when the match happens. Let's say that you interviewed at the Illinois Institute, sorry, the University of Illinois, and you also did it in University of Southern Alabama. You liked Illinois more, you ranked them more. Okay. And they too liked you a lot, and you're in the top 10 of their list. You match with them. Okay. That's why it's called the match for your residency seat. Okay. So the requirements of the match are what I said. For foreign medical graduates, you need an ECFMG certification. And for that, you need step one, step two OET, and your final degree diploma. You need minimum 3, maximum 4 letter of recommendations. This can be US clinical experience or doctors who have worked with you in your hometown, I mean, your home country where you have done your medical college. And then after that, you also require your, let's say, transcript of medical scores. You require, so there's a little bit of a checklist that comes. You cannot apply without it. So when you do enter your match and your application, it will be clearly written. Now, when it comes to step three, is it a necessity? This is a very important thing that one needs to understand. Step three is not necessary to apply for the match. Step three can also be given during your residency, and it is funded by the college that you get into when you're doing your residency. But when it comes to getting matched, obviously programs are going to try to get people who have already done their step three, so that one, they don't have to give them holidays, two, they don't have to pay for your step three. Correct? So manpower remains the same. They prefer people with a step three already. There are times when you pass the board exam of your specialty but you don't pass step three. So because of that reason, it gets a little bit of a problem. But step three is not necessary in order to match. Usually people give it during the match season and then email their programs that we have given it. Now, expense, like I said, the match itself can cost you around, let's say, it depends on how many programs you're going to go through. So it can go around $100 to 2,500, $4,000, how many ever specialties you are going to apply to. Now, when it comes to number of seats changes every year. It's currently at around 46,000 super specialty, I mean, sorry, specialization seats in America. And about 50 to 55% are with IMGs. So it's not like IMGs do not match. IMGs are international medical graduates. So they do match, but again, it's a different ball game of understanding why IMGs do not match. IMG. So when it comes to people who have graduated in America, they get funded by the American government, and the IMGs don't really get as much fund. So when it comes to paying your salaries, that's where the colleges make money. That's where the hospitals make money. So because of that reason, not all IMGs get matched. Yes, a good ton of them do. So when it comes to 46,000 seats, around 22 to 23,000 definitely go to the IMGs, and the percentage has been increasing over the years. Now, why USMLEs? Pros, cons. So now when it comes to pros for USMLE, USMLE is not just for America. You can work in most countries in the world with a USMLE. So what does USMLE completely mean? Including step three. If you're given step one, step two, OET, and step three, other countries recognize it. India doesn't. You have to go through a FMG exam, but you can work in Dubai. You don't have to give their entrance test. You can work in the Gulf countries. You can work in Australia. You can go to Canada. You can go through many of the European countries. The only country that doesn't allow anymore is the UK. They used to, when CS was something which was present, you would get your GMC license, but now it doesn't because they don't trust the OET as much. So USMLE comes with its pros that you can work almost in most places, if not all. Cons, it is expensive. It is very expensive. And if you don't match, it is something which is, heartbreaking. But if you keep going, most people match. So it's something that is there. It is extremely lengthy. The match season goes on to 6 months, which can be very tasking. It can be very, you can get impatient. You will have to be on your feet all the time. If an interview comes, you have to be on top of it and get the time slot, because there are many places which have only 100 slots, but they send out 200 invites, which is not really good, but they do it. So now when it comes to why USMLE, what drives you? It's very important that if you're going to go to a different country to pursue your residency, your drives needs to be legit. You need to really feel and go for not just the money, but because you also want to do it. Because it is, people do say that you have a burnout hour there. 100 hours is the maximum that you can spend in a in a hospital in America, but it is still very, very taxing. So you have to be very sure of what you want to do and if you want to go through the entire thing. I would say if you have put your foot in, go through it, complete the entire process. It is very, very giving. Now, what are the other doorways? Like I said, if you have done USMLE, it opens up practicing licenses in a lot of countries. All you have to do is maybe do like a one your research or something in a different country and you can practice. There are a lot of pros in that way when it comes to USMLE. So now opening the round for question and answers. I know I've taken a lot of time, but please go ahead and ask me anything and I will try to answer all your questions.
Hello, Dr. Sakshi. Actually, I had a question. You mentioned about the like the research thing, right? So, is it important that we do the research with doctors from US itself, or we can do it anywhere? Is it acceptable from for all the countries, including like countries like Russia, Georgia, or like other countries?
Okay, so this is a good one. They of course will test, they will obviously like someone who has done it in America because they are trustworthy. They would trust their own country, but they do not look down upon the fact that you have done research elsewhere. They appreciate all sorts of research on their CV, and they want you to just show that you have a liking. Yes, if you have done only one abroad, then they will give it a normal weightage, but if you have done multiple, like yes, you're really driven to it, it is a very good thing. But to answer your question, yes, they do prefer that you do it in America under an American doctor, but there is no harm in doing it elsewhere as well. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. So we have a few questions on the chat. So the first question is, if the fiance has H1B visa, is there more chances to match? Good question. Very good question. So, visa is a very big important thing when it comes to foreign medical graduates. Your fiance, if he can sponsor your H1B visa, which comes as H4, I don't think he can. You have to be married to him for it. So, if that happens and you have an H4 visa with a working, AET or OET, OED, AED, something like that, there, which gives you the license to work, then yes, it is a good thing. You can fill in your application that you do not require a visa. But if you do, then it becomes a little harder to match. It's not like it's impossible, but yes, it does get a little harder to match. There are two types of visas, the J1 and the H1B. The J1 visa is a student visa in which you do get paid, but after your completion of your residency, you have to come back to your parent country for a year to work or go into rural service for a year. The other thing is H1B, in which you don't require to do that, and you will be a proper working individual in your residency. I hope that answers your question. That is Satvika. Your next question is Arjun. Do we need to give FMGE exam and need degree from home country in order to go? No. So FMGE is not something that needs to be given in America. It's only USMLE. FMGE status comes through ECFMG. So they trust the ECFMG board to certify you only after you have been properly scanned through them. So the FMGE is not an exam in America. It's just USMLE step 1, 2, and 3. Step 1, 2, and OET is required for your ECFMG certification. And once that is done, the federal board trusts you enough to give you a residency. So you do not have to worry about that. I hope that answers your question, Arjun. Now, RK, is OET needed if a US citizen has completed MBBS in India? Yes, it is required. Everyone who has done their MBBS or their medical schooling outside of America requires it, even if you're a US citizen. Your ECFMG certification will not happen without it. Your ECFMG is the one that requires the OET, not the USMLE. I hope that answers your question, RK. So, Dhruti, you mentioned we need degree for applying for ECFM, but if we get a degree after MBA and internship in India, so do. Yes. So, this is the one. I face the same issue. You have to time your internship in such a way that you get your final degree diploma in your hand before you apply for the match. Your ECFMG certification will not happen with a provisional degree. You have to give them the original degree with the stamp of your registrar or your secretariat of your state council. They will not give you an ECFMG certificate elsewise. You can give your step 1, your step 2, and OET. Finish your internship. Literally keep just 2 days of internship left. Take your signatures, give it off, get your final degree diploma, give it to ECFMG to get it certified. I hope that answers your question, Dhruti. The next question, I have a hand raise. Surbhi?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have a question. If recently I am in first year, so I
Mm-hmm.
want to take a US Assembly exam.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have no degree and anything else. Um, so if can I attempt first?
Yeah, definitely. You do not need to have your final degree in order to give your step
I
1 and
don't.
your step 2.
Both studies are different because I am in first year, so their studies are different, and the USMLE studies are different, right?
Correct. See, the basis of everything is medical degree itself. There's no difference in that. Approach to the questions are different. I completely agree. If you have the time to study for a USMLE, definitely give it after your second year. That's something I would say that do that. Else, give it in your intern year. There is nothing like you require your degree in order to give the exam. You don't require the degree. You only need to give you need to get your degree before you apply for the residency. It's not required when you're doing it only for giving the exam, step 1 and step 2.
And what about, ma'am, the third step? If I cleared first and second step, then in for the third step, I have to go America, right?
Yes. So step 3 is a
So what
different ball
about
game
my
itself.
university's study? Means I will be transferred to USA or
No, 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 no. So these
no?
tests do not come under your university at all. This is like an entrance test that happens separately for America. These will not be covered by your university in any way. Step 3 and everything, it's all on your expense. You will have to go and do it. You will have to give the exam. And that usually happens after your ECFMD certified. That is when your college is over. You cannot give step 3 during your MBBS or whichever medical college degree you're doing. You have to become a doctor, and after that only you can give your step 3.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. So, Shiny Matthews, you asked me, does a US citizen who is an IMG have advantages? Yes, of course you do, because you don't require a visa. That's the most important advantage. They do not have to pay for your visa. They don't have to fund for your visa. They don't have to worry about your visa. You just need to walk in into the country. So that's why that's the biggest advantage that you have. If someone is overseas citizen of India with US passport is in, yeah, definitely. So anyone and everyone who does not require a visa is at a very great advantage here, because the programs have to pay for your visa. They have to take responsibility of it, and they also have to show that they are giving you the minimum amount that is required for a J1 or an H1B visa. And they also have to take the stress of sending you back in order to get it stamped every year. So because of that, it is always better, or rather it's not better, it's just an advantage if you have a visa access already. Now, Hari Krishna Patil is asking me, is there a way to indulge in researches in USA while studying in Russia or Georgia? Or would I have to wait? Okay, so it is possible. Nowadays, US clinical experience, there are many like AMO, USMLE, SARTHI and all that that are selling you these USCEs. Just like that, even researches can be done remotely or going to the place itself. You can get research done as well, but yes, you will have to pay for it. You can do it from your first year, you can do it from your second year, you can do it whenever you feel like. You do not have to wait for anything. I hope that answers your question, Hari Krishna. Now, the next question is, how do we tackle the UWorld questions while being in third year, where we don't have actual diagnostic experience? So now, personal experience, I gave my step one when I was in internship, and I feel like I did a very good thing at that, because step one uses knowledge from medicine, surgery, and a little bit of maturity after seeing patients. You have to, when it comes to UWorld, you can easily tackle it once you get used to it. You will have to get used to the questions when you continue doing it. Third year, yes, is a little hard because you haven't gone through a lot of patient interaction. You haven't studied medicine and surgery. You don't know how to approach a patient. But if you go through UWorld, it's not really training you to see a patient. It just uses that maturity. When we're in third year, we're usually around 2021. We do not have the maturity to consider and to, process our mind in such a way that you are seeing a patient and you're diagnosing them. That is the basic maturity that you have to gain in order to tackle your UWorld. Is it advisable to take USMLE in final year of medical school? Is there a way to raise funds for exams? So now, yes, you can give it, but no, there are no ways. There are no grants. There are no scholarships. These are exams that you will have to pay for on your own, since it is your choice to do it. It is grants are not present for USMLE. I have not seen them anywhere. No college sponsors it. It is you and you alone who has to do it. I want to know if the popular opinion that FMGs only get specific residencies, but not okay. I'm not going to say it's not completely true. It is something which has been having. I mean, it's something that happens. You feel that it's not there, and I'll be truthful here. One second, I'll just stop sharing my. Actually, you know what? One second, I'll just keep it here. Okay, so what happens in these things is, when you are a US graduate, you have a lot of loan on your head. You have obviously spent $300,000 on just an education. So if they are not given the good, residencies, they won't get paid enough. The loans will not get paid. The American system will go crashing down. That is the only reason why American graduates are given, surgeries and the big guns. If your scores are good and you have a huge inclination towards, plastic surgery or cardiothoracic surgery, neurosurgery, you can definitely get it. My friend has gotten maths in neurosurgery itself, and she is having fun. If you have a very great inclination, that's the only time when the program directors will actually take your interview and go for it. I know people who have gotten into OBG, who have gotten into surgery, ENT. It's not unattainable. It's a little harder. You will have to show very, very great inclination. Okay, that's the only thing that happens. But I would say that internal medicine, pediatrics, they are the easier ones. Internal medicine is the most easy one. Uh, Doctor, kindly outline the financial benefits to do residency from the US. Financial benefits, if you're doing a residency from US, staying there, lots. Your minimum salary goes up to $100,000. Coming out of there, it depends on which country you're going. If you're coming, let's say, to India, and they care about the USMLE, like the residency from America, which they have a little, hype for, you might be earning 1.25 times more than what a normal Indian grad earns. Like if I'm earning 3, you might be earning like 3.54 max. But it's not such great difference. It makes a difference when you have experience from America. Let's say you did residency, worked there for 10 years, 15 years, and then you go out somewhere. It's a huge thing. You'll get a lot of money. People will want you because America has a lot of resources. You have a lot of skills that you can, learn from there. So it's because of that that you are actually really wanted here. So, which agency and consultancies are trustworthy for USMLE, for USCE? You can go through USMLE Sarthi. You can go through AMO Opportunities, which has recently been acquired by Kaplan. You can go through to there's also something called Brooklyn USCE, if I'm not wrong. All of them are good. Now, one thing that you need to also know about USCE is you can apply to the programs directly through their websites. You don't have to go through these consultancies at all times. These are very mainstream things. The best ones come out when you go directly to the hospitals. You email the program director that I really want to come and do an observership with you or a clerkship with you, and then you go there. Okay, so they are easily, contactable. You can call them up. They are very responsive. You can go through there. But yes, there are also agencies that do take care of this. Then can you suggest few places where IMGs can do US clinical experience? Okay. So like I said, you can look through the programs. They have a lot of, details on how to go through it. But the most common places where you get USCEs through agencies is Illinois, at Chicago. You can get Dallas. You can get New York. These are three very, very big ones. Chicago and New York are the biggest cities that give you the US clinical experience. But like I said, I would suggest emailing the programs and asking them for a USCE directly so that it is of higher, importance. It is much more looked well upon. So yes, my specialty was pediatrics, and I did pull out of the match because at the nth moment I did decide to stay back with my fiance and go later on. We both had given step one, step two, step three. We had cleared everything, but because of reasons in his family, he had to stay back, and that's why I stayed back. So, how much did it cost me?
Hmm.
Family living in America, because of which staying, traveling, eating became cheaper. But when it comes to others, they say so. My friend has, given it, and he said that it took him $27,000 in total. So it all depends on how you are connected, or do you have family there, do you not have, and things like that. It's a very, very it's very shapeable to it's individual. Every person has their own way of doing it. Every person has their own says. But it can cost you anywhere between $15,000 to $30,000. Now, how doing MPH in USA? Okay, MPH is nothing but Master in Public Health. It is something that people do in the gap year that they have between matching and their medical college degree. So if you do not get matched, MPH is a good thing to do. It is not wrong at all. It's a good addition to your portfolio, and at least they know that you are interested in studying and really matching with them. So it's not wrong at all. You can definitely do it, and it's very useful for the match interviews. Is ortho easy, moderate, or hard to get as an FMG from Russia? Hari, I'll be real with you. Ortho is hard. Ortho is very difficult because it's an extreme money making stream. Ortho, plastic surgery, these are difficult. It's not like they are unattainable. You can do it. But what people usually do when they're foreign medical grads is they do internal medicine first, and then they apply for a second residency into a surgical branch. You can do that as well. There is no stopping how many residencies you do. You can definitely go through that way. So when did I give my step one, during MBBS or after? What resources did I use? So I gave my step one during my internship year, and it was peak COVID. It was horrible. My step exams were postponed twice, because of which I had a great deal of trauma giving that exam. But my step exam, step
Hmm.
one was given in June, and step two, June 2020, yes, June 2020, which was peak COVID. And step 2 was given, I want to say, around November 2020, something like that. So that was how I gave my exams. And step 2 CS had just been scrapped out. Everything was in utter chaos. And I did my step 3 in 2022 of August. Yes, I gave it in August 2022 when step 1 had become pass or fail. So that's how I had gone through. In the middle, I was working the entire time. I was, doing a bit of research. I was going to, so I would spend 6 months in America and 6 months in India because I had family there. So it was easier for me that way. But definitely, it's a different ball game. You have to have a lot of patience. I was very impatient, being me, and go looking back, I think I should have been more patient. But I'm loving my life here. I'm not going to say no to that, and I do plan on going back whenever I can. I had spoken to the program directors at University of Southern Alabama, at uh, Michigan. There is a Children's Hospital of Michigan. They had even emailed me as to why I had pulled out, because they get a notification, right? Who has pulled out and stuff. So those were things that did happen. They are one thing that one needs to know when you're going through the USMLE and the match is that it's a very personal thing. Program directors are very involved in your life, because of which interviews are not only about what is the pathology of this. That is never what is in the interview. It's about what your personality is. So always know that there is a complete whole round experience when it comes to USMLE. Now, ma'am, can you please shed some light on MedSpeed's residency? Um, it's something which is 4 years long, and you deal with both adults and pediatrics. It's a crossover that is happening nowadays because of the less amount of doctors that they have. That's the only thing there is. Med speeds is not really recognized anywhere else. It's only a US thing. So if you do plan on, coming, going to another country, it's going to be a little difficult. It's like how family medicine is. So considering that I'm doing pediatric residency from India, is it possible that when you decide to go back to US, you don't have to repeat the? Yes. So nowadays, the states are opening up to the degrees of other countries as well. I know that Tennessee, Washington, I'm thinking Montana as well. These places are opening up. Illinois is going to be opening up soon. So what's happening basically is the number of doctors are very less, and that's what US, realized during the COVID pandemic, that they have less doctors. Because of this, the degrees from outside are getting recognized, especially the Indian degree. The MD here is going to get recognized in America, and all you have to do is complete your USMLE till step 3. You have to shadow an American doctor there, and then after 2 years, you get a license. So what happens basically when you're shadowing is there are two places of luck here. One, the place where you have applied to for the job accepts you and grants you a visa. And second, the American doctor vouches for you that yes, 2 years you have done well, and that now you can be given the license. So it is happening, but it is still going to take a little bit of time to pick up and pace through. Uh, Ma'am, if I'm going to for residency in internal medicine, I want to have another residency. What should I do? No, you do not have to do the steps again. So step 1 and step 2 are valid for 7 years. But once you're ECFMD certified and you give the step 3, your scores are logged in. You do not have to give the steps again. You are a licensed practitioner. You continue practicing. You can switch as many residencies as you want. You can do what you feel like. It's the board exam which is going to decide if you are a board certified pediatrician or a board certified surgeon or a board certified obstetrician. It is not your steps. Your steps are your licensing exam. Your board exam gives you the degree that yes, now you're specialized in this. I hope that answers your question, Madhumita. Does anyone else have any other questions for me? You're welcome, Madhumita. This question is really good. NEET PG versus USMLE. I'll tell you one thing. Everyone that I got through to. Okay, so I've given NEET just as a joke multiple times. I would go to US, come back. On the day of me coming back, I gave NEET, I slept in the exam. Now, everyone will say USMLE is easy. It's very easy. No, USMLE is much tougher than NEET PG. And with the changes that NEET PG is coming through with, it's coming into the USMLE. So if you are USMLE trained, you are very easily ready for NEET PG. And NEET PG picks up questions directly from UWorld and first aid and pushes it into the exam. So when it comes to which one has the highest passing percentage, NEET PG is a rank list, USMLE scores. So you can't really compare that, but um, it is something. NEET PG can easily be given if you have done USMLE. Where had you matched? Like I said, I pulled out of the match. I got emails from the program directors as to why I pulled out and stuff. I don't know where I would have matched. I pulled out in December itself. So because of that reason, I don't know where I would have matched. After that, where should I start for USMLE journey as a beginner if you had to stay first 5 steps? First thing, do your research. Why do you really want to go to USMLE, go to US? Second, think about what residency you want to do. And if you are sure about these two, then think about, do you have any research prospects in the country that you're doing your medical college in? Because it is very well looked upon. After that is plan your steps accordingly. I would not suggest giving it before 4th year because people are not mature enough. Do it in your intern year, delay your internship if you can. Okay. And step 5, funding is very important. Think about your funds. Think about if you can, if you're mentally ready for it, if you're mentally ready for the long course of waiting and all of that. These would be your first 5 steps of your USMLE journey. Any other questions for me? What mistakes I did and which you would correct? So mistakes that I did were first thing, impatience. I was very impatient when it came to giving my steps. I was just like, I want to get over with it because it was COVID. It was a very depressing time. Second thing, I did not give importance to my LOR. There's something called a personal statement and an LOR, which we can talk about later. But LORs, so I love interacting with patients. I did that very well. But when it came to going to the doctors to asking for a good LOR and requesting them for a personalized one, I didn't really ask for a personalized one. I got lucky that they all sent it, but that was something. Third, research about your program. When it comes to which programs you're applying, see, during the match, you will also have to email them that I have applied to you. Kindly look into my application. I'm very driven for this, that. Look into your programs and do a little bit more research. I think I would have gotten many more interviews. I mean, looking back at it, it didn't really matter because I pulled out. But I could have gotten more if that happened. And third, fourth rather is show how driven you are when it comes to your residency. So I wanted pediatrics. They care about more volunteering and more fundraising kind of things when it comes to pediatrics. So I didn't have a lot of it in CV. I had a lot of work experience rather. But when it comes to medicine, they care more about research and clinical experience and not much about volunteering. So do that research about your stream. Do that research a lot. So that is something that I would have done a little bit more.
Are there any more question, guys?
Answer to your question, is volunteering equal to clinical experience? It isn't. They are two different things. Volunteering is a humanitarian thing, and clinical experience is for your own growth. So they are not equal. What would you suggest? When should we give step one while in fourth year is fine, or should I focus during fifth year? If um, whenever you're done with medicine and surgery, when you have the basic knowledge of that, when you start developing how to approach a patient, is when you should give your step one. I would say that, though it consists a lot of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, microbiology, pharmacology, it still requires you to have that flow chart in your mind as to, this is the way forward, this is how you need to go. So because of that reason, I would say, when you think you have attained the maturity of, if you see a patient with fever, okay, the next thing is why, how long, when it comes, is it intermittent, is it high grade, is it mild grade? When you start thinking that way is when you're ready to give your step one. uh, so is volunteering okay if done in US hospital? No, volunteering experience still is not equal to clinical experience. Okay, resources of step one, there are a lot. I don't think I'll be able to go through the entire thing. But like I said, UWorld and first aid are your main key resources. UWorld has a lot of explanation. It is very good for you. And first aid is the Bible. For step one, you have to memorize it from the first word to the last word. That is more than enough. Apart from that, you can definitely look at boards and beyond, and sketchy and anki. A lot are present. Whatever floats your boat, what suits you, you do you. Whichever thing is best for your cranial capacity, you choose and you do it. Thank you so much, Hemal. I guess that's all the questions for me.
I guess, yeah, we are done with the question and answer session. Guys, is there anything else you want to ask? Okay, I guess we can conclude our session. Thank you so much, Dr. Sakshi, for such an insightful and wonderful session on the USMLE. And thank you so much. I hope everybody has got something or the other to learn from this particular session and they can find their way through USMLE. And also, I would like to thank our collaborative partners, ACTM and the TISO, as well as our session coordinator, Maitri Shah, and the entire PRASHA team. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this session, and have a very good evening.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. If you need any more help, you can definitely message me on Instagram, and or you can, email me as well. That's also fine. I will put down my email ID on here if you want to contact me. There you go. It's sakshi.s.shrivastava@gmail.com. I hope you guys have a great night, and I hope to really see you guys soon. All the very best for whatever you choose to do. Bye bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much.